Mr. Hales.
Here.
Miss Austin.
Here.
Mr. Houchins.
Here.
Mr. Murphy.
Here.
Miss Shelton.
Here.
Dr. Newman.
Here.
And Mr. Fraley.
Here, thank you, Lenny. We'll
right.
get into our continued agenda.
Our first item today will come from the continued agenda. This is the American Legion Addicts Post 5 for the following special exceptions at 923 Glen Rock Road. A is to amend a previously granted special exception for entertainment, and B is to operate an after-hours membership organization.
Thank you, Lenny. Susan.
Okay, good afternoon. As Mr. Newcomb pointed out, this is an application by the American Legion Addicts Post 5 to amend a previously granted entertainment establishment special exception, as well as to grant a new special exception to operate an after-hours membership organization. So the site is located at 923 Glen Rock Road. It's on the west side of Glen Rock Road. It's kind of behind the military shopping center and just off of Virginia Beach Boulevard. The property is Zone C3. A membership organization is a permitted use in that district. However, an entertainment establishment as well as an after-hours membership organization are uses that are only permitted by special exception. So that is why they are before you today. As I mentioned, the applicant had requested a special exception to operate an entertainment establishment several months ago. What that allowed them to do is to use their facility to lease out to private folks to have essentially a banquet hall. So they were leasing it out for a banquet hall to have entertainment and alcohol. Again, seeing as a membership organization was permitted, the building was being used for that as well. We had further discussions with them and realized that they did also operate what we call an after-hours membership organization. So that's an establishment that operates between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. So we worked with them because of the way their building is set up. They actually would be able to have both uses and keep them separate. So for one side of the building, they would be able to use for their entertainment establishment, open to the public for private events. The other half of their building, they would use for their membership organization and then for their after-hours membership organization. So essentially, that half of the building would be open 24 hours for members of the American Legion. Here is and I did separate the two uses and the two sides of the building. So the after-hours membership organization is open from 2 a.m. to 6. Now, again, membership organization is permitted, so that would be open from 6 to 2, and then after that it becomes the after-hours membership organization. In that side of the building, and both sides do have separate entrances, so it's not like you have to go through one to get to the other. It's like they are separate facilities. The after-hours membership organization would have 73 seats for a total capacity of 138. The entertainment establishment side would be open from 8 o'clock a.m. till 2 o'clock a.m., 7 days a week, and then have 188 seats with 317 total capacity. Their entertainment is a 6-member live band, a karaoke, and a disc jockey, and they do have a dance floor on that side of the facility. So the idea again is two separate facilities, each with their own separate entrance, one for the members and then one to rent out to the public for a banquet hall. Staff is recommending approval of both special exceptions, subject to the standard conditions imposed, which are, we state, for each of the different uses, the capacity, the hours of operation, and in the entertainment establishment, the specific type of entertainment they would be allowed to have. So with that, again, staff is recommending approval of both special exceptions.
Thank you, Susan. Have you gotten any feedback from surrounding enterprises and businesses? None?
No.
We did reach out to them.
Yes.
Any questions, Ms. Pollard, commissioners? Thank you, Susan. And with that, we have no opposition, Mr. Newcomb.
The motion is to recommend that the special exceptions be approved, subject to conditions contained in the staff report. Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Houchins?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy,
Aye.
Ms. Shelton,
Yes.
Dr. Newman,
Aye.
Mr. Fraley.
Aye, we'll make that recommendation to council. Good luck, thank you. Item 2.
Item number 2 is Wawa for the following special exceptions at 701 Newtown Road. A is to operate a convenience store with fuel sales. B is the sale of alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption.
Matthew.
All right, this is a request by Wawa for 2 special exceptions. The site is located on the west side of Newtown Road, and that area is developed with a mix of commercial, mainly directly along Newtown Road, and then residential behind. And the proposal is to construct about a 5,000 square foot Wawa convenience store, be a 24-hour convenience store with 12 pumps, and then also a request for the sale of alcohol for off-premise consumption. And here's a look at the zoning. The site is zone C2. It's developed with a shopping strip right now, and the proposal is to demolish the entire shopping strip. And then I'll show you here's the proposed site plan. So the Wawa convenience store and all its associated pumps and parking would take up the majority of the site. And then the portion in the corner there that says future development site, that would be a vacant pad site for another tenant. And then here are the building elevations. I do want to point out with the building elevations that, as a standard practice, this board has consistently applied what we call the 50% transparency rule for the front for convenience stores, especially 24-hour convenience stores for safety reasons. And Wawa has complied with that 50% transparency for that ground floor facade with this elevation here. And then this is the rear elevation. And then this is the left facing, so facing the side street there at Stony Point South. Again, the commission has consistently applied for that side at least 25% transparency, just to open up as many eyes into the facility at all times. And this actually goes above and beyond the 25%. And then this is the side facing that vacant pad site. Here's a perspective look at the pumps, and then also the trash enclosure showing the same masonry design elements as the building. And with that, in your packet, you do have one letter of opposition from a Virginia Beach resident that lives nearby. And we do have communications also in your packet, I think as a separate attachment, from the communications between the Wawa folks and the Newtown South Civic League. Have gone through this plan in a lot of different points and reached the plan that we have right now. I'll point out, just to highlight a few things, the special exception conditions do tie this site plan, ties it to the site plan, ties it to the elevations that you see here, requires a sidewalk around the entire length of the whole property, a minimum of 6 feet wide. Also requires a cross-access easement. In looking at this site plan, in order to ensure that whatever ends up going on that future pad site, that we don't need to add any more driveway aprons and provide any more points for traffic confusion on that site, but there will be a cross-access easement that vehicles coming in off of the driveway that you see right there for Wawa can also be able to enter that pad site. So that's a condition that requires that access easement. And then also on this plan, there is a solid masonry wall, 8-foot tall masonry wall that is required, and it's showing up on that plan. You can't see it too well, but goes down the entire length of that property line that's directly adjacent to the townhouses there. Similar to what we did on the last application with Royal Farms, adjacent to the Crown Point townhouse community. And it was something that the townhouse community, Newtown South, also wanted to see. And then there will be requirements for a continuous landscape hedge adjacent to that wall, between the wall and the adjacent townhouses, just to sort of still have some aesthetic appeal in looking at the wall. And the rest of the conditions are your standard conditions in your packet for every gas station convenience store of this type. So any questions?
Thank you, Matthew. Questions of Mr. Simons, commissioners? Thank you, Matt. Here to speak in favor of this application is the applicant, Mr. Clay Massey.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I'm Clay Massey with the civil engineers on the project. Also with us is John Oderberg with Wawa and Herb Culpepper with owning the property. He's owned the property for 13 years. We have no concerns with Matt's report.
Mr. Massey, just for the record, could you give us your mailing address?
Oh, sure. Yes, sir. It's 1176 Kingsway Drive, Virginia Beach,
you, sir.
23455.
Right ahead.
I'm sorry?
Go right ahead. You had anything more to share with us?
No, sir.
Okay,
We have no concerns with working with the conditions.
Good deal. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Here to speak also in favor of this application, John Berger.
Is there anyone here to speak against it?
No.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is John Iberg, and I'm a real estate project engineer with Wawa. I'm located out of 190 West Baltimore Boulevard in Wawa, Pennsylvania. I'm a corporate representative for Wawa. We support the staff's staff report too, and I'm looking forward to answer any questions they may have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Chair will acknowledge the following people. Herb Culpepper is here, does not wish to speak, but is in favor, as is Bill Niesler. Is here in favor of this application, does not wish to speak. Carol Meekins is here to ask questions regarding this application. Ms. Meekins? That's Ms. Mickens. I'm sorry.
That's
Excuse me.
quite all right. Good afternoon to the board. I'm here as a representative of the Newtown South Civic League, a board member, and this is Tanya Lewis. She's on the board as well. We're not here to speak against the...
Give us your mailing address if you would, Ms.
Oh,
Mickens.
my mailing address is P.O. Box 41316, Norfolk 23541.
Thank you.
I'm not here to speak against the Wawa. The concern that we have is for the neighborhood is when you, on the Stony Point South Street, when you're exiting that street or entering that street from Newtown Road, there's only room for one vehicle. And there have been additional townhomes that have been built in the back of our neighborhood, which is going to increase the traffic in and out of the neighborhood. With the Wawa being there, what I've experienced is if there's any hindrance or building or anything that's going on Newtown Road, there tends to be a backlog of traffic that backs up all the way down Newtown South, which takes a while for you to get out of the neighborhood. What I'm asking is if the Planning Council will consider on the opposite side is Ethan Allen. And on Ethan Allen, when you're leaving our neighborhood, there is one lane for you to go straight or turn left, and there's another lane for you to turn right. So I'm asking if you can consider widening that street so that at least when you're exiting the neighborhood, you still have the one lane that's going left and another lane that's turning right so that we are not stuck behind all of the other cars there.
That sounds reasonable, Ms. Mickens. Unfortunately, however, I think you're asking for a public works project which is going to require capital dollars. What I might ask you to do is confer with our staff and see if we can get that under the proper consideration through public works, see if there's justification for moving forward with a widening. And of course, they would take that under advisement and approve it and move forward accordingly.
Okay,
So,
and I'm sorry again, who would I speak to?
We'll put you with staff, start you with our staff, Matt Simons, and I'm sure he can kind of encapsulate what you're looking for and pass that along to Public Works.
All right then.
Okay?
Thank you for your
We
time.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I was just going to add, because this issue came up, very, very similar issue came up with the Raby Road site, the Royal Farms near the townhouse, the Crown Point townhouse. We can add a condition that calls for that, as long as at the end of it, we do leave the caveat subject to the review and approval from Public Works. Because if for whatever reason Public Works has a show-stopping issue with the geometry or whatever it is, they need to be able to make that decision. But we can add that in if that's the will of the Planning Commission. And it may require a slight right-of-way dedication from the property owner in order to allow for that extra geometry. But that's something to consider.
Matt, appreciate that heads up. George, how would you prefer that we tackle that?
Could we simply ask that it be evaluated by Public Works as opposed to putting a specific plan out there?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Vice Chairman, I think that is the wisest course of action. There's a new construction immediately across Stony Point South. I'm assuming that our Public Works folks looked at it at that time, but we can certainly put in a request to have them reevaluate.
Good.
It will go to site plan review if it's approved by council. And at that point would be an excellent time for the analysis of whether this can be done or not.
Good deal. So staff is on top of it. We appreciate it. Thank you, Ms. Mickens, for bringing it to our attention. I think she left. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Do we need to add that to the motion?
I'll add it in.
Yeah.
Mr. Newcomb.
All right, the motion is to recommend that the staff reports be approved, subject to the condition that Public Works entertain the opportunity to do a lane widening along the entrance to Stony Point South, and that it be approved.
Ethan Allen Lane.
Ethan Allen is where they have the double exit lanes. It's Stony Point that it only has one way out.
Leave it more vague. Just ask
I
Public
think we
Works to
got
look
you
at
on
the
that one.
project.
Do we need to be terribly specific right here? Can
No,
just ask
we
them to
don't.
look
We
at
will
it?
pass it along.
Right.
We
Thank you.
understand that.
All right. And the recommendations that be approved, subject to the conditions just stated. Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Houchins?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Ms. Shelton?
Yes.
Dr. Newman?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye, we'll make that recommendation to council. Thank you.
All right. Your next application before you is Granny's Country Cooking for a special exception to operate an entertainment establishment with alcoholic beverages at 628 35th Street, Suites 636A through 636B.
Mr. Simons.
Switching gears. Okay, so this is a application to amend a previously adopted special exception by Granny's Country Cooking. The site is located on the north side of 35th Street within the 35th Street business corridor, which is a mix of both commercial and residential uses. And the request is to add entertainment options to the existing special exception, namely to change from a 4-member live band to a 5-member live band, and also to add a DJ as an entertainment option. And here's a look at the zoning. It is zoned C2, but also in the 35th Street PCO, which does allow entertainment establishments with a special exception. It does back up to residential that's along 36, and then on the other side of Gosnell, there's also residential. And then looking at the background, this came through this body in 2016 to change from a eating and drinking establishment to a entertainment establishment. And at the time, these were the entertainment options that the applicant chose to apply for. And that was the 4-member live band, and then what you see in every application, the karaoke, comedian, poetry reading. And then shortly thereafter, the operator did begin to consistently hire various disc jockeys to work at the establishment, which was not an entertainment option that was requested or approved by the applicant or by the Planning Commission City Council. And then I do have a brief timeline here. I'll hand out in the very back of your report on the last page. There is a summary from the police department that I received yesterday that follows along with this timeline. So I'll hand this out. I'll give you time to get that passed out.
Is there one or two sheets of this?
It's just one sheet.
All right.
Okay. All right, I'll go ahead. And so since the establishment was permitted to have their entertainment options in 2016, there have been several major issues associated with events hosted by the establishment. The operator has continuously hosted events with a disc jockey, which was not an entertainment option that was requested. And the operator has also permitted third-party promoters to use the facility to host their own events on several occasions, which is under the terms of the special exception explicitly prohibited. And then there have been several police reports of some violent crimes that have been committed, either inside or outside the establishment. Nearly every episode occurring on nights that the establishment was illegally operating with the disc jockey. And then in performing a review of these incident reports, and I'll go over that, the following events have been observed via social media posts and then also the police and incident reports. So on October 28th, there was a third-party promoter that was permitted to use the facility to host an event with a disc jockey. And this is a look at the Instagram account that does have on the top, it says that the Usual Suspects presents, and then the Usual Suspects, if you click on their thing, they are a promoting group, and they presented this event on October 28th. And then also on November 30th, police reports indicate that 6 individuals attempted to rob and assault a patron upon exiting the establishment, and the ensuing commotion led to 2 victims receiving gunshot wounds. As a follow-up, 2 gun shell cases were recovered by the police on the sidewalk directly in front of Granny's House of Blues. So that night was November 30th, and that was this night here, which also had DJ Hip at the establishment. So that was in violation of their adopted special exception. Then on another occasion, there was a night, this is the only one that I have that doesn't have the DJ on that specific night, but there was another event, and on that event there was a round of shots that was fired outside the establishment, resulting in bullets striking a home in the 700 block of 35th Street near Gosnell Avenue. And then 1 bullet round was found in the rear part of the residence. And then moving on, in February of this year, police reports indicate that an employee of the establishment responsible for security was assaulted by a patron. The report further indicates that the manager for security stated that they did not want to report an assault. That was this event on the 22nd of February, which also had DJ Hip hosting. Then in March 10th, the operator permitted a third-party promoter to use the facility to host an event with a disc jockey, and that was this event, and it was also presented by the Usual Suspects. That's not a colloquial term. That's the name of the promoter, the Usual Suspects. And then in April 29th, the operator permitted another third-party promoter to use the event, and that was a different one. That was actually Triple T Promotions. And then on June 14th of this year, that's when the operator was issued a court summons for operating with a disc jockey, which is in violation of the provisions of their special exception. They did appear in court and were given a continuance to see the outcome of this decision, which, if approved, would permit the DJ. And, well, in the meantime, so that was issued on June 14th, but in the meantime, on 2 occasions, August 2nd and August 13th, 2 events were posted on, again, Granny's House of Blues or Granny's Country Cooking Instagram account, both having a DJ shown up on the flyer. And that was on the 2nd, and then this was on August 13th. So those events were posted after the establishment was issued the summons to court for the disc jockey, so we know that it was in knowledge of the issue. So all that being said, I know that was a lengthy timeline report. Here are the specifics of the request. In the middle shows what they are approved for right now, their hours, the seating, and the entertainment options, and then proposed. The applicant has proposed to scale back the hours of operation Sunday through Thursday down to 11 p.m. They have proposed to add additional seating into the capacity, but not to expand the total capacity, just additional seating. And also to change from the 4 to 5 member live band, then add the DJ. That's what's in front of you. So all that being said, given all the past issues that have occurred at the establishment on nights that the establishment has hosted a DJ, staff does recommend denial of this special exception. The existing special exception ordinance, which was adopted in 2016, will still remain in effect, and the establishment will continue to be able to operate as originally approved without a DJ if that denial occurs. However, if the City Planning Commission chooses to recommend that this request be approved, staff does recommend the conditions that tie down to what you see here, and then also what we've seen from time to time is what we call the 18-month sunset clause. And I talked to the applicant about that, and she's fine with that. So that would be a sunset clause that would require her to report back to amend that special exception again, and we could have another review of the operation. In your packet, I do have several items that I received very last minute. I was scrambling to post them on your Dropbox, but I have a letter of denial from Mr. Rodney Jordan, and that is in your packet, and I'm not going to read it all. It's kind of lengthy. He includes several pictures that he's taken. And then I also have a letter from several neighborhood leaders. It does include Rodney Jordan, but also the Park Place Civic League president, Charles Johnson, the past president, Frank Kristen, and then the president of the community development group, Ms. Therese Patterson. And that's also in your packet. It's dated September 26th. And then that last page is the same page that I handed out that summarized the police reports. If you have any specific questions about the police reports that's beyond what is stated right here in this packet, we do have two members of the police department that are here that could probably expound a little bit on that if you have questions in that area. But staff does recommend denial of the request, and stand by for any questions.
Thank you, Matthew. Commissioners, any questions of Mr. Simons? Thanks, Matt.
All right.
Here in favor of this application, Andy Prodigiro.
If I could have a moment, please.
Absolutely.
My name's Andy Prodigiro. I'm an attorney and I'm counsel for Granny's, and I'm here today with Kenita Baker, and we're here to speak in favor and answer any questions you have. First, if I may, to go over the evidence that's in favor of why you should approve this particular special exception. First, we have, and if I may, Mr. Newcomb, I have copies of a petition that have 100 signatures. I'll also show you, for identification purposes, a letter from Gary Cheverati on behalf of Tent Revival Committee that deals with Granny's and in support of same. They're also here today employees of Granny's that have been laid off, and if we could have them stand briefly. If you're an employee of Granny's, and many of these employees have been laid off because of the fact that we cannot have DJs at Granny's. We also have DJ Danny Brickhouse, if he's here. Danny, if you could just stand up. Thank you. We also have Richard Levin here. He's the owner of the property, and he's also in support of this particular measure. Mr. Levin, he's here. Everybody knows Richard. And lastly, we also have we have Kenita here, but we also have the petition, and also to inform you that with regard to the issue of the police issues that have been raised And we'll go through each one since they were raised by staff in particular. With regard to the first police issue, we have transcripts of the police calls that were done on those particular dates. I'll begin with the 10/28/16. There was a third-party promoter that was used. It was considered such with the DJ. That's not criminal activity per se. It is subject to the city code violation, which is currently before the Norfolk General District Court. But you would hear that that was done at a time that when they thought that their special exception included being able to do DJs. That being said, Councilwoman, I believe Angela Graves, and also the mayor have had political functions at this particular place that it's my understanding and belief also involved a DJ. And Mr. Jordan. On 11/30/16, there was a mention of a police incident, and it is noted as an assault on a patron and a robbery. Upon following up at the existing establishment, if you read the police report that we have, the actual call, that call began on 34th Street. The person on 34th Street ran to 35th Street. It was at 35th Street that the individual was met by police and therefore was not, and there is no connection anywhere in the police report that we have in the phone calls to 911 that mention him as a patron of Granny's. So he's on the other block, he runs for help to 35th Street, and that's where he's encountered by Norfolk PD. On the 12/27/16 incident, which is just after Christmas, the establishment was closed. So there couldn't have been anything involving Granny's involving that particular incident because it was closed on that day. On 2/22/17, there was a report that an employee for security was assaulted by a patron. Somebody within the establishment assaulted one of the security people. Police show up, security person says, listen, I don't want to push charges on this person, I want to take them out. And therefore the matter was dropped at that point. Again, not a serious matter. And I believe that the other notations with regard to any criminal conduct that I have and were given to me all indicate that they were in issues involving a third-party promoter or the few times that they had the DJ. There was an issue, if I could, 2/22/17, but there is also some issue of shooting that occurred on that particular night. There was that assault was in progress. Officers responded, and that it seems that there were other vehicles in the vicinity. We do seem to have the call on that, and that's available to you should you wish to review it. So when you look at the criminal aspects, the one aspect that has really been raised here, the one aspect raised before you, and it appears that the matters had nothing to do with DJs, they weren't even open, so there's always two sides to that coin in any criminal case. Finally, with regard to what Granny's can and has done, the minimum age to enter Granny's is 28 years old. So it is not an establishment that when you have a DJ, and the times that DJs have been had here, that you had young people involved. So 28 years old is a mature crowd. What you also have is you have 6 security, 2 sheriff's officers. Sheriff Spruill is here. Sheriff Spruill has also pulled security at Granny's. He's here and could answer any questions with regard to the security issues that you may have and questions you may have. With regard to the days of the week, in particular, the days of the week that would most likely be used for this were Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Again, limiting the amount of days that are involved. With regard to the going from 4 to 5 piece and the DJ, keeping in mind that bands today, normally when they take their break, have a DJ. I think that you will find that the owners of Granny's would tell you that they would not use third-party promoters, that it would be done in a manner that's appropriate. And also, I think that there was a mention, speaking of that the last 2 times in August, I think the Administration tried to tell you that they were flying in the face of a present court matter that's pending in the General District Court. That's incorrect. It was posted online, but nothing occurred on those evenings because they knew to get through this and to get through the matter with the city attorney's office and to get through planning and council in an appropriate manner. So as we all know, anything can go on the internet and just ask what's going on today, that we heard, 600 Russian accounts were entered just on the NFL issue. So who knows what goes online, but it's whether the truth really occurs. In this case, you have people who are in support. On the particular petition, we also have Jill, it looks like Mosley and Shalah Seaborn, 645 West 35th Street, 637 West 35th Street. Also neighbors that are very close to Granny's. You also have Ray Pryor, 641 West 35th Street, and House of Conscious, 633 West 35th Street, that are in support of Granny's. That being said, if you have any questions, I know Mr. Levin is here, and of course, Kenita is here. So any questions you may have that I can't answer, they're here and prepared to do so for you.
Thank you, Mr. Protégero. Any questions, commissioners?
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
Did you say that you had 100 signatures? Did I mishear that?
It should be 4 pages of 25.
They're all different. Oh, they're all different.
They're all different.
Collectively, we have okay. Yeah.
And frankly, we just stopped getting
Yeah, it
signatures.
just says 25 on the page.
Yeah, no, it should be 4 pages of 25. Anything else?
Yeah, the next question I had, does the operator understand that they're currently in violation of their existing
They
special
do
exception?
now that they received the summons from the city with regard to it and what's pending in the General District Court. That matter has been continued by the city attorney's office, so this matter can be heard here. If this matter ultimately gets approved, hopefully through here and then on a council, I can tell you in dealing with Mr. Melita's office almost on a daily basis, those cases are usually dismissed.
Dismissed.
Mr. Protégero,
Yes, sir.
it's hard to believe that they were unaware of what these regulations are since they signed them before the hearing that granted this. I'm just wondering how it is that they can stand there and say we were completely unaware of what we couldn't have when they signed a list of those conditions.
Well, just because something doesn't say it's on there doesn't mean that they can't have it, and that's one way you look at it, Mr. Newcomb. And I understand what you're saying to say that you're saying, well, it doesn't specifically say that they can't have it, and I understand that, but also you need to understand the perspective of the individual who's running the establishment just because it is not on there. Now, Kenita's right here. She can answer the question for you, and you can challenge her credibility on that. But the mere fact that it's not saying you can't do it doesn't mean that they couldn't do it, and that's how it was understood. Now we're here asking to do it.
I believe you've sat through the hearing at City Council on a number of these,
A couple.
and you are aware, more than a couple, I believe, and you're aware there's a lengthy amount of conversation that goes on before a special exception for entertainment establishment reaches you. And
True.
it is repeatedly explained over and over again what you can and can't do.
She is right here if you wish to ask her.
Okay,
Kenita.
when you're talking of a live entertainment, for as a DJ is live. He's not doing none of this. Skibber. He using a computer. He
Ma'am.
has a computer just sits.
Ms. Baker? Please, I do want you to be on the record officially. Can you give us your name and mailing address, please?
Okay, my name is Kenita Baker,
Thank you.
636 West 35th Street, the owner of Granny's Country Cooking.
Right ahead.
Okay, so my DJ back there, Mr. Brickhouse, when he has a table up there, he don't have turntables that you taking a record, bringing it out of a cart with a record, bringing it out, putting it on the DJ and taking a record, switching the record. This gentleman has a computer. Use a mouse. Go to the song. That's what he does. So I was under the impression that it fell up underneath of live entertainment because it's live. He's not a mannequin. He's live.
Well, also keep in mind, if I may, DJs in today's world are not the simple DJ that, as we've said, I think that when you look at it, there's another level that comes with that. And this is not the level that was there or understood to be there. There are certain performances that come with that, and that was not what was seen here.
Well, let me ask a question of Ms. Baker. You've got a list of your managers on here. Are they all eligible at this point to be managers?
Yes, they are. Yes, they do. The manager that's supposed to be here is Crystal Baker. She's an ABC manager. And Cornetta Reed, they managers. Nobody else is managers but me.
Well, you've got listed Randy Baker. Is Mr. Baker
That's my
here?
husband. He is in support of me, of the support of the business. That's my husband.
Well, he's listed though as a manager. Is he here?
No, he's not.
Why is he not here?
He's at work.
Okay, just wondering. I mean, it's an important item. I would think he would be here.
Somebody's got to keep the business running, Mr. Newcomb.
I understand.
Right ahead, Ms. Post General.
We conclude, in case there's any other further questions. Thank you all.
Thank you. Here also in favor of this application, Richard Levin.
Okay.
Afternoon, distinguished members of the Planning Commission. It's a pleasure to be here. I just want to share my heart for a moment. We bought some property down on 35th Street. I have some property in Riverview and in Ghent. I went into Ghent many years ago. It was boarded up. Sears left, and I guess that's why I was there, because I didn't have a whole lot of money. You could buy some property for little money. But we worked through that. Riverview is coming along beautifully. 35th Street has had its challenges, and it's going to continue to have these challenges. And I looked over this, and the attorney went through all this and explained a lot of this away. But when the Bakers decided to come to 35th Street, I was thrilled. They put their life earnings, their life savings, in the magnificent build-out of a restaurant on 35th Street. They have food that every bit, in my opinion, as good as anybody out there. Best soul food, in my opinion, in Hampton Roads. And it was a great concept, and it was wonderful because we had nothing. Nobody was coming to 35th Street. We had one little place across the street that opened up about 5 or 6 years ago, a venue. The rest of it was hit and miss. And they would open up and they would close. And they would open up, and nothing is worse than to have somebody open up and close in a year or less, because it just tells people there's nothing going on 35th Street. So the Bakers put their life savings and earnings into this, and they put their heart and soul into this. And I'm just, I've looked at the letter that one of the, leaders, community leaders, Rodney. Now we have Kroger's. I don't know that we would have had Kroger's, because I know for a fact I went to Richmond to eat in Kroger's and help bring them with the Department of Development. I don't know that they would have gone down there. Granny's was a proven success, so they came, and that's normally the case. People do that on 21st Street and Ghent, and we lose anybody. If we lose Granny's now, we're going to lose. It'll be over. I really mean that for 35th Street. It will be. We can have a closing, this publicly out there, close. It would send a message like crazy. I looked here about these bullets, shots, and these, and unfortunately, Park Place, thank God, has come so far, and a lot to the credit of y'all and the city council and so forth. But we've come so far. It wasn't a few years ago in broad daylight that a Norfolk City police officer was killed, I think on 27th Street. There'll be shootings, but we have them in Ghent. We had it right on Princess Anne and Colley Avenue about 2 months ago, a shooting. It's going to happen. We live in an urban city. We live in a city. To blame everything that happens within a 10-block radius on Granny's, it's not good. It's not right, and it's unfair. Please keep in mind that these people came in here and put their own money in. Granny's didn't. Granny's got millions of dollars. To the best of my knowledge, I might be off a little bit, but it was a major payout by the city to get Granny's to open on 35th Street. These people put their whole life earnings. Please be sensitive to that. They are good people, and they've had security, 6 offices in a place that holds 80 people or 100 people. 6, unheard of. They haven't had the trouble there. They run a nice, clean operation. So I think it's bigger than Granny's today. It's about the redevelopment of 35th Street. One other quick note, Park Place, and I was not there, but I had a representative there. I was out of town. Didn't really have a final vote because there was a lot of people in favor of Granny's, and there was a lot against. And at that time, they didn't go to a final vote. And I don't know if this is a letter just from the president himself, his opinion, or was it from Park Place? I don't know that. But they've done a lot of good. They fed kids after the games with the football. They take food over. These people are community citizens who care. They really care. So please, I hope y'all can find it in your hearts to give some consideration to somebody who's put their life savings into this business and for the good of the city of Norfolk, 35th Street. Because if this closes on 35th Street, we're in trouble. And it also brings up another major point for me. I'm concerned with my theater. I have a 550-seat theater sitting behind this building. But I would like to go ahead and start a gospel-type entertainment venue. Of course, that's going to be over probably by 8, 10 o'clock or whatever. But I need to know, are we, going to stifle all the, development that may come in there? I mean, because if you take the Narrow Theater out of off of Colley Avenue, guess what? We could close Colley Avenue and probably Ghent, because when you can bring 500 people to a neighborhood on a given day or a given time, those people are going to eat and they're going to shop. And that venue is going to be very important for the development of 35th Street. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
You have time for that in rebuttal, sir.
Okay.
You'll have time for that in rebuttal. Here to speak in favor of this application also Donald Belen? Belen, excuse me, sir.
My name is Donald Belen. I reside at 649 Estates Way in Chesapeake in the Riverwalk area. I'm a founder of an organization called the Belen Park Place Outback Organization. It's been around since 1999. And what we do is we provide mentor athleticship to the kids in the community. We provide basketball games. We assist kids, and most kids that go to high school, middle school now to play ball, they need suits and stuff to go. So we provide them with suits. We provide them with assistance to the game. Their parents, single parents, they can't make it to the game. We come in their behalf and everything. Just to know a little bit about the organization. One of the successors of the organization is Cam Chancellor, which y'all would know as the Seattle Seahawks. He was once a mentor there. And we have a banquet every year at the end of the year for the kids. This happens in the daytime. Well, since Granny's been there, she's opened her doors to us, allow us to have a banquet for the kids. The kids get to come there, they get to dance and have fun and everything. And I would like to say that it would be a big disappointment to the kids if Granny was to not have that venue there to open it up for the kids. The kids really look forward to the organization we provide and for the things that they provide for the community. There's not a lot going on in that community for the children, and they really look forward to it. And we would really want your support to support this organization. This, like Mr. Levin said, it's not a lot of businesses in the area that's doing something for the community. She has opened her and her husband has opened their arms up to the community, and we are very supportive of what they're doing. Nothing is perfect in this life, we all know that. But it is a good thing what they do for the community, and the kids really look forward. I'm looking forward to more and more kids going on to college and going on to the pros and stuff like that. And we need that mentorship. And we need to let them know they have a place where they can come and eat, have fun and everything. But this goes on in the daytime, but the kids still look forward to it. And without a DJ, they couldn't provide this for the kids. So I would thank you for you listening to my program.
Thank you, Mr. Belen. Chair wants to acknowledge the following folks who are in favor of this application but do not wish to speak. Diane Matheson, Simon Hunslow. Thank you both for being here. Here against this application, Jamie Pickens.
Good afternoon. My name is Jamie Pickens, and I reside at 700 West 35th Street. So I live on one of the four corners at 35th and Gosnell where the establishment is. And I'm here to ask that you deny the special exception request. My biggest reason is because of the atmosphere that the establishment has created. I have personally witnessed fights between people that have come out of the establishment. There's a lot of ruckus, there's a lot of noise. There's noise coming from the music that the DJ plays inside the club. I can actually hear it in my house with the doors and the windows closed. So that's the first noise issue. Second is from the people who come outside, who are going into the club. They arrive with a bang and they leave with a bang as well. Some of them don't even go inside. They will sit outside in their cars and play loud music and create a social atmosphere right there on the corners, which there are private residences on the other three corners of that intersection. Cars. Of course, there's a congestion of traffic, but personally, my driveway has been blocked on numerous occasions. I have cones that sit in my backyard that a friend of mine and even sometimes the people that work at the establishment put out around my driveway so that people won't block it. I have another neighbor across the street who has marked with spray paint his driveway and tow away lines so that people don't block his driveway. There's trash. There's always trash to be picked up the next day. There's beer bottles from, I guess, people drinking in their cars and they're throwing the beer bottles out on the sidewalk. There is trash from fast food or whatever it is that they are consuming when they drive up to go to the place. Public urination. On multiple occasions, I've had men urinate in the bushes around my home. One time I even banged on the window and the guy ran off, but that's something that has happened on multiple occasions. With all of this going on, we have private citizens, one in particular, Rodney Jordan, who will don a orange safety vest and stand in the perimeter of that intersection to try and mitigate the chaos that is going on so that everybody gets to their car safe and that we can minimize, the disturbances that are going on. In addition to that, the establishment has sheriff's deputies that they've hired. There's city police officers that are often out there on the active nights at Granny's. And with all of that, it illustrates to me anyway, that this establishment in their current form is a bad fit for our neighborhood. There's too many private residences around there. I don't think it just doesn't work where it is. And it started happening shortly after they started using the DJ. So for a little over a year now, right at a year, maybe a little bit more. I've been over there a couple of times to talk to them about what was going on. So we've had discussions, and in an effort to try to work with them, I stopped calling the police, whenever something was going on, trying to be neighborly and work together, because we don't want to see anybody who is in opposition of it. We still don't want to see a business go out of business and go under, but we want to see it operated responsibly where it does not disrupt the peace and quiet of the neighborhood or the enjoyment of people's homes. I think that at least one, I'm not sure about all three, but at least one of those addresses on 35th Street that were noted as being in support of it are businesses. They lock their door and go home. I live there. And this is what, I've had to endure. And it lasts until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes. So Park Place is a family neighborhood. I have been there for 10 years. I bought my house in 2007. I've been active with the Civic League. I served on the board, different neighborhood initiatives, and this goes against what we have been working for years. Some people out there for decades. and it's just taking Park Place back to a place that we don't want to be at. So, again, we ask that you deny the request for the special exception.
Thank you, Ms. Pickens. Mr. Protegero, we're into rebuttal, sir. You have 5 minutes.
Just no rebuttal, just to answer Mr. Newcomb's question. Mr. Baker's in custody. He is not at the store today.
Thank you.
Yes, his cousin just, me and my husband are separated for the record, so his cousin just aware of me of that.
Richard, did you have anything to add, Lenny?
Are you removing him as a manager?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Richard, did you have anything?
Thank you very much, and I appreciate that. I do.
Before he speaks, can I clarify something?
Right ahead.
We are not seeking to close anything.
Right.
If you look at the letters that have been sent and you listen to the people that have talked, Granny's Country Kitchen is a welcome addition to the community.
Right.
Granny's House of Blitz or Blues or whatever it is not. The problems relate to the nights they have operated with a disc jockey where they have used promoters. It's a clear connection there.
Okay, I got that.
Thanks for that clarification, Lenny. Richard?
And thank you. I appreciate that, Lenny. Thank you. I'm just, after listening to this last lady, you know, 35th Street used to be mainly a business corridor. Now it's down to, 2-3 blocks. Without the business corridor, the value of Park Place won't make it. It will not. Ghent would not have made it without Colley and 21st Street. People move into a neighborhood because there's places to go, things to do. It's a very important part of the success of any neighborhood. You don't have to go far. Go to Richmond. I love Richmond because they have these pockets, and I'm sure y'all been there. Pockets of commercial corridors in with the residents, you know. And we heard from one lady, and that's one opinion. But if we read anything, it'll tell you that in order to build a good, solid neighborhood with a foundation, you've got to have a place for people to go and do. And I have a situation on Lafayette Boulevard. Some years back, how many years ago? 7, 8 years ago, maybe. Y'all did away with the commercial corridor. I have a commercial building on that property, in that corridor. I'm gonna have to come in front of y'all. It's been zoned residential. Well, it's a retail store. That's what it is. So, and it's killed Lafayette Boulevard, and it's going to hurt Fairmount Park, because if we had things going on, people will come, and I know y'all know that, but I appreciate you letting me come back up and share my heart. Thank you for that, okay? Thank you all.
I guess we have a few moments left yet in the rebuttal for those in favor. Going once.
I would just like to implement again that bands are evolving now in this new generation, like everything else is. Most bands nowadays do come with DJs, but like she said, they don't have DJs who's spinning records, so everything is computerized. You just hit a mouse for the song that you want to play and stuff. But it's important to have a disc jockey at certain times, and I don't think Granny uses her place to rent out for all this internet stuff and people have things like that. I don't see that going on in the community. But she does extend her hand to the kids. I'm concerned about the children because they are the future. They are the ones who's going to be sitting here where y'all sitting at today. And my concern is that the children have a nice, safe place within the community to go. And I've been around before some of these homeowners. I've been around since doing this organization since 1999. I lived in the Park Place area from 1965 all the way to 2000. So I've been around in this community for a long time. And yet I moved out of the community. My heart and my organization is still in the community. And we have to realize that we have kids here. It's bigger than homeowners. It's bigger than grannies, like you said. It's about the children that's coming up in the community. We have to raise these children standards. Not just raise the children, but they standard of living. Let them know they can reach to the sky. Like I said, Cam Chancellor was one of the ones that was running around in the community. And now look at Cam. He's an NFL player. You know, we provide a lot of, like I say, we provide a lot of financial things for these kids. We provide sports equipment for these kids. We provide a lot of things. And at the end of the year, we have a banquet, and we look forward to Granny's because she opened her doors up to us with open arms. And we just want to say that think about the children, too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bellin. We do have a few moments left for those on the opposite side of this, the opponents. Ms. Pickens, if you have anything further you'd like to add, now's the time. That said, commissioners, any comment, question?
Do we have any, I know we have a couple officers out there. Anyone of our Blue Sector officers from the 3rd Patrol Division here? I just offer you all a chance to come up. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that area and, perhaps shed some light on what you all see firsthand out there.
Well, sir, I'm Lieutenant Terry Gibbs, the Sector Commander for the Blue Sector. I have with me Officer Simeon, who's the Sector CRO, Community Resource Officer there. What I will tell you all is that for the last 6 or 7 months or so, I have been tying up resources, officers, not so much associated with grannies, but the quality of life issues, complaints that's been coming from the community in reference to grannies. Some of the things the young lady mentioned, blocking driveways, urinating in people's yard, the loud music that's associated with the individuals that drive through the neighborhood, not just the club itself, but driving through the neighborhood and with the loud music playing and littering in the yard. Those are the things that where every Wednesday I end up tying up an officer to not so much just to worry about the club again, but to help police all of the quality of life issues that's going on. In doing so, oftentimes there's times where we short of staff. And the calls of service are continuously coming in. I could use that officer to be out there help answer those calls for service. Meanwhile, property crime, we've been trying to combat that. We're getting it down with the larceny from autos. It's been a big thing for me. I like to have my officers out there addressing these suspects with the larceny from autos and also dealing with the property crime. So having to say that, that's how it affects the police department, tying up the resources just to be able to allocate there, just to have them there to address the quality of life issues.
Anything to add, CRO?
No, I'm the new CRO in Park Place. 2 months. I just got in there in July and August. I came from Fairmont Park in Ballantyne for years there. So I was shifted there, so not too much happened while I was there in that area. So.
Any questions of the officers, commissioners?
I do have a question for the officers.
Yes,
I'm looking at the existing exceptional use permit that's currently there at Granny's, and it does allow for a 4-member live band and karaoke and comedian and spoken words, which says poetry, but I think the children, as someone referenced, the new generation calls it spoken word. So I see a plethora of opportunity for entertainment there. And while there are some very prominent businessmen in this great city that would go so far as to say that the business will not survive without a DJ, I'm just curious, what is it about a DJ that makes the environment or the quality of life somewhat different in comparison to what we're currently allowing there?
Well, the DJ, like the young lady said, she's sitting in her house, she can hear the music while she's trying to sleep 9, 10 o'clock at night. There are some people that live in that, not just a business community. If you ride around that corridor, you got across the street, you got residents that live right across the street, and that block right on the end there where people living, and the music is loud. But I would submit it's not just the DJ itself or the club itself, it's the patrons that's coming through there with that busy street at night with the music bumping. That impacts the quality of life. The music from the car can be just as impactful for the community as the DJ itself inside the club. So I think it's just a cumulative of issues, not so much just about the DJ, it's the crowd that's coming with the DJ, and then the loud noises and everything that's associated with it. People talking extremely loud. I think, I know Rodney ain't here, but he had sent me, before I started sending my officers out there, he had sent me some video footage of some of the things that was taking place, and I should have found a way to bought that here or so you could hear it. I mean, it was just, you could hear the noise from the people just extremely loud right by some of the residents that's living up and down that street. So I think it's just not just the DJ in itself inside the club, it's everything that's associated with it.
Okay, so on the nights that entertainment is allowed, while one night may be a 4-member band or karaoke or comedian as opposed to another night, the DJ situation just attracts a different crowd? Is that what we're...
Well, I don't know if the crowd is different. It's again, I think it could have been whether it's a good crowd or bad crowd. I'm assuming it's a mature crowd that goes there, and I'm assuming that all those people that go there are good people. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, when you get a bunch of people together and they're talking and they're communicating, and then sometimes we just don't get along. She said there was some fights there, and I'm sure there was. I don't know whether we responded to any calls for service where we had to break up fights. I can't tell you that. I don't know whether we've done that, but I know that, you know, walking back and forth to the cars or whatever, some of my officers that were there saying that, you know, they had to, you know, talk to a few patrons that was walking that may have got into a conversation. I don't know if it was an argument, and they had to tone it down. So, you know, I just think that's the interaction back and forth, 9, 10 o'clock at night, which I think is what they're talking about.
I think we had other questions, Lieutenant.
Yeah, I'm confused by the picture, frankly.
Yes, ma'am.
There's statements about we have to understand what the children need, that the DJ is part of it, and yet the situation with the DJ versus other kinds of entertainment and whatnot seems to have, from your description, a very negative impact by what's going on. And I was also confused by the issue of what the DJ is doing. There's, you know, about the computer versus live or whatever. I don't see how it computes that that the DJ must be had because our children must have this. To me, I hear that something else is going on.
Right.
Because the picture just doesn't make sense otherwise. And it is a bit disturbing to me to think that something that is having this impact is something that is absolutely necessary. I'm missing something, and I would like someone to help me to understand what.
Well, I think that at 9 and 10 o'clock at night, you don't have a group where there's children there. You have an adult crowd there. Like they said, 28 and above, it's an adult crowd that's there that night, not small children. Now, I think that, as I know, Granny's is a real nice establishment, and I've been there and I've eaten there myself during the daytime, and like Mr. Levine said, they probably got some of the best food in the city. But I think the issue again is that time of night with the residents there is what is the concern, where there is that DJ there, and that 28 and over crowd there that's coming to patronize the club, their activity coming from and to the club as well. That's impacting the community.
So it's not about the children?
No, not to what I see. I mean, we're there to address the adult crowd that's coming to and from there.
I think what's going on is the DJ's popular. He's really good. People follow him. So if he DJs at this facility, they're going to get a little bit more people. People follow him, they have a good time. If he goes to Virginia Beach, they follow him. So he's a good DJ, and that's what's going on. That's what the crowd is following him because he's a good icon at what he do. He's good at his craft. So it's like, following certain stars and stuff. They have concerts. You go see him wherever they at, and that's what's going on. She hires him. He comes. People know him. Facebook, whatever, social media. They know him. Oh, he's gonna be over there. Oh, we gotta go see him. And that's what happens. So on some of those nights, when he shows up to perform, they're there. They come in to see the DJ and they have a good time. So I think that's what's going on with the DJ part.
So it's about revenue.
I don't know about revenue.
I'm talking about it's about making money. It's about
yes, absolutely.
Any other questions of the officers? Lieutenant Officer, thank you for coming.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate everything you guys do for us.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other comment? You have a question?
Question from Ms. Pickens.
Go right ahead, Ms. Pickens.
Address.
No, ma'am, not now.
question.
There
I
is
got
a
a
question for you.
Oh, okay.
So, based on your observations, do the issues occur just on the nights when they have the DJs, or are there issues on other nights?
As far as I know, it's the DJ all the time. That's what it's been consistently for the last, year or at least several months. So as it compares to nights that they've had a live band, it's been a long time that I know of that has happened. And to address that in your question, additionally, it's interesting because it was brought up that we couldn't come to a vote at the Civic League meeting. We had, as we do, when there's a hot button issue being discussed that night, we were heavily attended. And the reason why the vote was not accepted was because we had more votes than we have members on that particular night. So, and when we were having that discussion, one of the gentlemen on the board, I believe it's our minister, I forget what the chaplain, yes, thank you, on the board, interestingly enough, he stood up and he said that he used to be a bouncer at a DJ at a club in DC. And he said there's a big difference between the crowd that is attracted when you have a DJ and the crowd that is attracted when you have spoken word and live entertainment. And I think I can bear witness to that as well. Like I said, I've lived there for 10 years now. And since I've been there, there's been a place across the street that was referenced as well, the Venue on 35th Street. And all they do is spoken word and plays and, live entertainment like that, but without music. And I've been there on several occasions. And they're always heavily attended on Monday nights, which is their regular night for having spoken word. I've never heard a peep out of anybody going in or out of that place, even if there's more cars on the street because, that's their good night, their busy night of the week. Never had a problem with them. The Croker spot is further down the block, so I don't know how I would be impacted by them, but I don't think there's any complaints about the people going to and from the Croker spot, and they do have a band sometimes. So I think that there is a big difference, for whatever reason, in the crowd that you attract when you have a DJ as opposed to the people who come to see live music. When they come for live music, they get in their cars and go home when they're done. They don't stay outside and, hang out and play their music and try to create a social atmosphere on the corner. And I think that is what we're experiencing here. So that's
Thank you, Ms. Pickens.
Okay.
Any other questions? Mr. Houchins?
No.
Any other questions, commissioners? Comment? Sorry, sir, the time is over. Mr. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just would like to comment. I want to thank Ms. Pickett for having the courage to come down here today. You're right. You do have a right to peaceful and quiet enjoyment as a resident and as a homeowner, just like anyone would as a business owner. Much like Ms. Austin, I'm somewhat puzzled by the fact that an icon, a great restaurant like Granny's, would be shut down by one single source of entertainment. And I find that strange that one of the greatest soul food restaurants in our great city would be completely shut down by the lack of a DJ, and that concerns me. Even after the officer has reported that this is a great DJ. He goes all over and entertains. But I just want to thank Ms. Pickett for having the courage to come down and speak her mind.
Thank you, Mr. Houchins. Any other comment, commissioners? Mr. Newcomb?
The motions to recommend that the special exceptions be approved, subject to conditions contained in the staff report. Mr. Hales?
I want to confirm, make sure we're all on the same page. A vote no means they still open, they still can have a 4-member band, they still can have karaoke, comedian, and poetry.
That's correct.
Spoken word, as you would put it. I'm gonna vote solely based on the community response, the Civic League response, which they do not want it. Mr. Jordan has said he does not want it. There's a resident lives down the corner that says they do not want it. There's been a lot of talk about the police and crime, and I'm sure Mr. Protégé would address, if he could, that there's been no direct correlation between the police coming out there and an event out there, because even the police officer had said they're not sure when it happened or what happened. So I'm just going to throw all that out. But the community, has spoken, and they do not want a DJ in this facility here, and I certainly take the community and Civic League's recommendations to heart. So on that, I vote no.
Ms. Austin?
I'm going to vote no. I am thrilled by 35th Street. I'm personally quite supportive of it. I've been there. I look forward to it growing and blossoming. And I think what's important is to make a decision about exactly what the neighborhood wants that to be. And that leads me to vote no.
Mr. Houchins?
No.
Mr. Murphy?
No.
Ms. Shelton?
No.
Dr. Newman?
No.
Mr. Fraley?
No. We'll make that recommendation to council. Thank you.
All right. The next application before us goes to your regular agenda, number 1, Pinewell Station, for a text amendment to section 27-40, Pinewell Station Residential Plan Development, PDR, Pinewell Station, of the city zoning ordinance to reflect a current plan for the proposed multifamily development.
Thank you, Lenny. Susan?
Okay, this is an application by Pinewell Station to amend an existing plan development. So the property is currently zoned PDR, Pinewell Development Residential. This is the site here. The city does own half of the site. It was the former senior citizen site. And on the other end is our brand new coastal 7-Eleven. Under the current PDR, there were certain development standards set in place. 145 dwelling units. The height was set at 75 feet for the residential structure, 35 feet for a rental office building. The setbacks, 10 feet along East Ocean View Avenue, Norfolk Avenue, and all yards located behind structures. The side yards are 5 feet, and then there was a requirement of 30 feet between buildings. The design of the entire building will be reviewed through the design review process, and that means ARB, and then you all. That's the design review process. The rental office building with the fitness room will be complete prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the residential units. At least 1.9 parking spaces per unit shall be provided. And then acknowledgement of the accident potential zone, the APZ2 zone, on the western portion of the site. Where the Senior Citizen Center used to be, that is in an AP zone. So we have continued to work with the applicant, and you'll see their proposal, both in when we created the PDR and in this amendment, does not show buildings there. You can't have a building or use in a PDR. The applicant's current proposal meets all of those requirements. This was the original PD as it was approved, and you can see again no building in the where the senior center used to be, and there were 3 buildings, and there was a very small fitness facility in the APZ zone, and that was permitted in an APZ. The current proposal, all of the other development standards are the same. The current proposal really reduces those buildings to one building, and the fitness facility, as opposed to being in that separate building, will now be incorporated in with the existing one building structure proposed. So to do all of that, because the site plan has changed, they are required to amend the PD. So that's what they're here to do today. Again, just a reminder, it does still have to go through the design review process. You will be seeing the design. Today we are just really amending the site plan to allow the one building versus what we had before. Staff is recommending approval.
Thank you, Ms. Pollack. Any questions of Ms. Pollack, commissioners?
Susan, looking at that site plan right there, to the far right of it, is that the 7-Eleven there, or that blue block?
7-Eleven, yeah.
Is that the actual 7-Eleven building, or is that just the parking lot?
Well, the building is set on the corner, remember?
Yeah.
The 7-Eleven sits actually on the corner. And so there is a parking and a drive-through to get to the gas, which is in the back.
Yeah.
So this is, we push the building up front, and then the gas is here, and then the parking is located up here.
I think what you're seeing is a bit of the canopy over the gas.
Is that what I'm looking? Okay. The buildings look awful close together. If that's the case, I'm good. Thanks.
Any other questions? Ms. Pollack, commissioners? Thank you, Susan. Chair acknowledges that there is no opposition to this application. Here to answer questions, Tim is the applicant, Tim Faulkner. Also available for questions, Warren Tisdale, as well as Mitch Bowser. Here to speak in favor of this application, however, is Mr. Ron Paulson, Cottage Line Civic League.
Chairman Farley and commission members, my name is Ken Paulson, and I live at 2071 East Ocean View. I address you today as the president of the Cottage Line Civic League. The Breeden Company came to us and to the Pinewell Civic League on the 3rd of August and gave us a presentation. After that presentation, we voted in favor of this project as it's being amended, and we will continue to speak for this project. We really believe in this. We hope that the commission will approve this amendment, and eventually it'll make its way to the city council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paulson. Let me apologize for getting your name backwards there.
It's my handwriting,
Blame it
sir.
on my eyesight.
It's my handwriting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Lenny?
The motion is to recommend that the zoning text amendment be approved. Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Houchins?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Ms. Shelton?
Yes.
Dr. Newman?
Aye.
And Mr. Fraley?
This thing has been continually evolving for a long time. Hopefully, we're getting closer to where we want to be. I vote aye. And
Item
we'll
number-
make that recommendation to council. Thank you.
Yep. Item number 2 is the Four Rivers Project Incorporated for a change of zoning from R8, Single Family and Park Place Residential Overlay, PPRO districts to conditional C1 Limited Commercial District at 1001 East 26th Street.
All right.
Matt?
So this is an application for a conditional rezoning. It is right now zoned R8, single family, and also has the overlay, the Park Place residential overlay, which dictates the position of buildings and has some regulations on garages for single family homes. So the proposal is to remove those and replace it with a conditional C1. The site is located on East 26th Street at the corner of East 26th and Ruffin Way in the Villa Heights neighborhood. And the majority of the surrounding area is developed with residential uses. And the proposal is to renovate this commercial building to convert it into a space for flexible office use. Here's the zoning showing the R8. And this is a picture of the site right now. The building was constructed in 1926, I believe. And here's an old photo, I don't know how well you can see it, showing there's the same awning on the building there. And some of the same location for the glass is all there. This building was actually, built in 1920. And it was prior to any parking requirements in the city. We didn't have any parking requirements in 1920. That's why there's no parking available on the site at all. And they have coordinated with the Faith Deliverance Christian Center. And you can kind of see where that is on the zoning map. It's that gray area to the north. So it's about a block and a half away. And they have coordinated with the Faith Deliverance Christian Center to secure availability of 9 parking spaces. They've also proffered to limit the hours of operation to 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and then closed on Sunday. And the main purpose for that is it is very close to a residential neighborhood, but also in terms of sharing the parking, the peak times for churches are generally after 7 in the during the week, and then obviously on Sunday is a very much a peak time for parking for usage of a church. So they wanted to coordinate their parking with the church in a way that didn't in any way conflict with their peak hours and their peak need. So that's the purpose of that proffered condition. And then just to talk a little bit about the structure, the city had a citywide historic survey of all of our different historic resources in the city, and that was in 1999. And in that survey, this building was identified and as a possible structure that could be listed as a historic resource in either a historic district or a historic landmark. And that was because it was one of 3 remaining neighborhood pharmacy structures in the city at the time. Neighborhood pharmacy used to be a very, very common feature of most neighborhoods in that time frame. But in 1997, there was only 3 left, and then even since then, now there's only 2 left in the city, and this one, and then one other building in the Lamberts Point community. So with that, there is another proffer. The reason why I say all that, there is another proffer in the in this as part of this request. I'll read through. It says the building's northern and western facade, exterior facades, which is what you see right here with that glass. The building's northern and western exterior facades shall maintain the window glazing in the existing areas as shown in the photograph attached hereto and marked as Exhibit A. The lower portions of the window, they may be obscured, and any portion may be modified to create new entry and exit ways. However, no less than 50% of the building's northern and western facing facades shall be transparent as defined in the zoning ordinance. So that's the reason why that condition is in there, and we want to make sure that we have a good fit for the neighborhood and maintain the historic elements. There's also a proffer in here about that awning. The existing decorative awning shall be repaired and maintained in its current location. So with all of that, given that this is a historic resource within our community and it's part of our broader history, staff recommends approval of this request for the conditional rezoning to C1. And we do have members of the Civic League are also the applicant here with us. If you have any questions about the community engagement, they'll be here to answer those questions.
Thank you, Matthew. Any questions of Mr. Simon, Commissioners?
I do have a couple questions. Matt, can you take us back to the pictures of the glazed windows and the awnings that you want to maintain or restore?
So this is an old picture. I know it's hard to see, but we can see where the general areas where they had window glazing here. And then you can still see the different coloration on what the site looks like now with it's mainly boarded up. So the proposal would be to uncover those boards, see what you have, and then they can make slight modifications as long as they retain that awning and retain at least 50% transparency along those facades. So very similar to the condition that we just had with the Wawa, and should be in keeping with the historic nature of that.
Matt, do you have any elevations or renderings showing what the building would look like if we were to approve this?
I do not.
request?
I know that from my dealings with the applicant, they have been communicating back and forth with an architecture firm. However, without knowing whether or not this would be approved, it's hard to give the full green light for a full dive into the architecture and spend that money. I know that that's been one of the issues, but they definitely have been in contact with an architecture firm on this.
Can we go back to the original? Yeah, so it has the front part of it really looks like what is the historic element of the building, because behind it in the next picture, go back to it. Okay, I'm trying, the building behind it is not original to what you're showing in the first one, correct?
Well, the building
That's a
behind
house.
it-
That's a house
that's
there.
a home.
Yeah.
That's the
on
house
side
there,
street.
okay, that,
Well,
I-
those are the same homes.
Yeah.
You can see that chimney in the middle
Just-
of the roof line. It's the same chimney in the middle of the roof line in the background.
I think the owner of the house discovered vinyl siding.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
They have-
Yeah, but it's also changed somewhat significantly, and because the massing of the element looks very different from one to the other, so it's changed somewhat. But I just wanted to understand that.
Sure.
Thank you, Ms. Austin. Any other questions of Mr. Simons, Commissioners?
Yeah, I have another question. Matt, where exactly is the parking that would be allocated for this individual? I heard you say church.
I know that this isn't the best image to show it, but in the absolute corner of that gray where you see IN1, and I'll walk over, but I know you can't hear me when I walk. Right in here, there's a small parking lot. And then I do have a letter from the Faith Deliverance Christian Center. They've tried to include with their letter that secures the parking little image. And they've circled this corner right here. for the 9 spaces, which makes sense in being that it is the absolute closest spaces to this establishment on their site. So that's why they chose those spaces.
And how many units will be there in the flex space?
I'm not sure. You'll have to ask the applicant that question. I'm not sure, but you can ask the applicant that question in a minute.
Application
Mr. Murphy.
I think my question is probably going to be for the applicant also, and it's about how access will be controlled during the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m.
All right.
Any questions of Mr. Simons? Hearing none, the chair will acknowledge the applicant, Ms. Lana Presley.
Good afternoon. My name's Lana Presley, and I reside at 2833 Villa Circle, Norfolk 23504. And I'm
Go right
prepared
ahead.
for, you have questions?
We're here to hear what you have to tell us.
Okay. We believe that this building will add value to our subdivision. We were donated this building some time ago, and when the lady came to us and asked us about the building, we saw a lot of great potential in this particular building. It's we're going to make it into a building for the community. There will be, it's only 2,200 some square feet of space. So what we're looking to do in there is probably have small micro businesses to start there. We're inviting youth and senior programs there. And we'll have a conference room in there for our Civic League meetings as well. The building, it's kind of an eyesore as it is right now. So if we could have the opportunity to turn it into something for our community, we believe that we can work with youth and seniors in that community and add some value and some quality of life to those residents that live in that community. Currently, our youth, our children, they really don't have any place to go unless they go over to Park Place Community Center or they walk down to Huntersville Community Center. There are no places where children can go and have quiet time or learn how to play chess or be involved in the STEMS program, and our senior citizens as well. So we see it as an added value to the community. We're planning on turning it into a real community asset. It has a lot of history. We intend to let people know what that history is, and we just want to move forward with the architectural design, and hopefully after we pass this commission that we will begin to work with the architects and turn this building into something that will add value to those to the community and to those passerbys as well.
Thank you, Ms. Presley. Any questions of Ms. Presley?
I just want to commend you for seeing this as an opportunity, because it is, looking at the pictures before and what you have now, it was a very interesting building architecturally, and I do hope that it can be brought back to what it was and for the purpose that you wish to use it for.
Well, thank you. We appreciate
Mr.
that.
Murphy.
Yes, ma'am. My experience with flexible use office space is that the individual tenants can come and go as they please. Is that not the case in this instance? Are you going to control access to the building?
Yes, sir. We will control complete access to the building. We like to get people in and get them out. We think that 7 o'clock in the evening is a fine time for people to be gone on home.
Yes. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Presley?
Yes, Ms.
Mr.
Presley.
Hodgins.
And how many units do you plan to operate there in the facility?
Well, because we don't have our architectural rendering, I'm thinking maybe, and this is just me talking right now without knowing what the architectural designs will be and of course cost. There'll be a conference room in the rear of the building and probably 3 little cubicles for micro businesses, startup companies where they can stay there and live with us for, I don't know, 1 to 3 years and move out into wherever they want to go after they've grown and turn themselves into a viable business. And of course, there'll be an open space, hopefully in there, where we can invite programs like Boys and Girls Club. They might have a program that they might want to bring to our community to help the youth in our community. Senior services from the city, they have some programs that they might want to bring in there, and all of that has to be kind of coordinated and with partnership agreements and things of that sort. But that's kind of what we're looking to do.
I would like to commend you as well. I'm very familiar with this location. I think it definitely, the building is an eyesore, and someone needs to do something to bring it back to life, to serve a purpose that it did many moons ago. And it sounds like you have a very, very good plan in place. What concerns me personally is the fact that as you will well know, Villa Heights, the neighborhood is very, very sensitive to parking. And those that are residents there, the on-street parking is pretty much all they have. And depending upon what your final plans and designs and the capacity and things that come about could have an adverse impact on the community far greater than just having a abandoned, dilapidated building. I'm not sure if it's within our purview, but I'm personally not used to seeing things come across our commission without having seen some type of rendering of what was there. Being familiar with that building, I hear that there'll be glazed windows somewhat similar to what was originally there, but I'm not sure if those exterior walls aren't permanent walls, having been rehabbed. You may know.
Yes, sir. Those walls the building is completely cinder block.
Right.
And it has concrete floors.
Right. So it could be extremely expensive to go in and do the types of things that we're asking that you do in order to restore it. Again, I'm not sure it's within our purview to maybe table this decision and have you come back with a rendering giving us something of what your vision is and what the plan would finally look like, in addition to some formal agreement from the church that's saying that they will actually give you those parking spaces that you seek. I personally feel like if we had something, tangible like that, it would make my personal vote a little easier.
Well, the architect that we're talking with, we're not quite there yet because he wants to make sure that the building gets turned from residential into commercial zoning. So that might be something that we can discuss, but I don't know about that. And then the second thing you mentioned was about the parking. We have a commitment from the church already for the parking. There's a letter included in the, okay, Matt has the, excuse me.
Yeah,
Matt has the letter from the church about the parking.
Okay.
And the building is, right now, the building is open. It's just one big, nothing's in the middle of the floor except for a post that might be holding, it does something for the structure of the roof.
Right.
Other than that, the building is open. We've cleaned out the building. We're down to the bare studs in the building. It's all concrete.
Right. So staff has suggested that you would return the exterior to glazed windows, but you're saying that it's cinder block, so you've got a plan to.
Except for the windows. What you see there are boards.
Yeah, they've just boarded up the windows. The original cinder block is where it was before.
Yeah. So his windows.
I would say that, having looked at that letter, that there is support elsewhere in the community for this, and that they see the value of it. And I would think that the architect really, as you say, wants to know that they can move forward with the project, and that is essentially what is happening here, which seems to be quite, for me, positive.
Any other questions of Ms. Presley or comment, commissioners?
I have one question.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
said
Go right
you
ahead.
were gifted the building?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Michael Bage, he was the previous owner of the building. And I guess he decided that he wanted to see something done with the building. When we were given the deed, we have a responsibility to name the building after his family.
Okay.
So we don't have a problem with that at all. We see it as a valuable addition to our community. It's going to be looked at as a historical asset. I mean, they're all around us. We have the St. Mary Cemetery, we have the zoo, the Lafayette River, so we consider those our community assets. And of course, this is probably the last thing, maybe one other thing in the subdivision that we probably want to tackle.
Any other questions, Mr. President? Matt?
No. Good.
Oh, thought you were raising your hand.
No, it's moving around.
Thank you, Ms. Presley.
Thank you.
Mr.
The
Miller.
motion before you is to recommend that the change of zoning to conditional C1 be approved. Mr. Hales?
I also like to thank Ms. Presley for taking on this project. As a small business owner, it is tough to find space, a small space for startups in the city. You actually have to go into Virginia Beach or even Chesapeake to find something like this. So our city's in desperate need of this. At one point, I moved my company to Virginia Beach because we couldn't find a small enough space. So this is a great project, and I'd like to thank you for putting the investment in the community. So I vote aye.
Ms. Austin?
Enthusiastically, yes.
Mr. Houchins?
I think it's a very great project as well, and I wish it well, especially in this community. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to vote no, primarily because it's the process in which that I'm accustomed to seeing things that would confirm that others in the community aren't bothered. I just don't see that here, but I wish you well.
Mr. Murphy?
I vote aye.
Ms. Shelton?
Yes.
Dr. Newman?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
I'm one of the big things that we have in our city. We're a well-developed city. We have a lot of buildings that have historical prominence and presence that are sitting vacant. I know you've been working on this in your community for quite some time, Ms. President. So I'm delighted to see that we're trying to pump some life back in some buildings that may have some character in our neighborhoods. I vote yes. I wish you the best. And I may be coming to you look for a little flexible office space of my own. But wish you the best with that. I vote aye. We'll make that recommendation to council.
Item number 3 is Avidity LLC for a change of zoning from R6 single family to R8 single family at 443 and 445 Hanukkah Avenue. Purpose of this is to allow the entire site to be redeveloped into 2 single family homes.
Chris, before you get started, I just want the commission to know that there is no opposition to this application, so go right ahead.
All right, thank you, sir.
Briefly, go right ahead.
Yes, I'll make it quick as possible. I think we all want that, right?
Go ahead, Chris.
This is an application from Avidity LLC for a rezoning from R6 single family to R8 single family at 443 and 445 Honaker Avenue. It's located on the west side of Honaker in the Glen Rock neighborhood, just north of the intersection with Finney Street. And it's an existing residential community with various different single-family residential zoning districts. So the proposal would be to take the existing 2 lots and demolish the existing house on one of those lots and then build 2 new homes, one on each lot. The lots currently are each 50 feet wide by 100 feet deep, which the R8 zoning district would conform to that sort of lot size. They're existing, no subdivision would be necessary. So the current R6 district requires 75 feet of frontage. And the proposed so the 2 lots with 50 feet each, you can only build 1 house on both lots together under that zoning. So that's why they want to go to R8 to build 2 lots. As you can see here, it's just a survey showing that there's 2 50-foot lots here. And the general plan for the city is single-family traditional for this entire neighborhood, which would make this proposal conforming to that. 50 to 70-foot wide lots is what it calls for, and this would be 2 50-foot wide lots. This neighborhood, as you as commissioners know, is a neighborhood in transition. We see these kind of rezonings all over this neighborhood, and not to mention the existing lots conform to the R8 zoning district, and there's lots of R8 zoning in the immediate vicinity. So for those reasons, staff recommends approval of this rezoning request.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions of Mr. Whitney, commissioners? Stand by, Chris. Here in favor of this application but not wishing to speak is Mary Ann Nazelli? Negley? My apologies.
No worries.
And also James Hanrahan. I got it half right. There's no opposition, commissioners. Any questions? Mr. Newcomb?
Motion's recommend that the change of zoning be approved. Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Houchins?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Ms. Shelton?
Yes.
Dr. Newman?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye, we'll make that recommendation to council. Good luck.
Item number 4 is Commonwealth Tattoo Gallery for a special exception. Operated tattoo parlor / school at 804 Granby Street, Suite B.
Another quick one. So this is a Commonwealth Tattoo Gallery, special exception for a tattoo parlor school as stated, 804 Granby Street, Suite B. This is located within the Arts and Design District, also known as the Neon District. It's on the east side of Granby Street, just north of the intersection with East Wilson Avenue. It's again, it's in the Arts District, downtown zoning, and the D4 district requires a special exception to operate a tattoo parlor. The proposed hours of operation for this establishment are from noon to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Thursday, and then from noon until 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday, and then closed on Sunday and Monday. Given the state of conditions in the Arts District and that zoning district, staff thinks that this is an appropriate use here and recommends approval with the conditions contained in the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Whitney. Chris, this parlor is not a ground floor operation. Did I read that correctly? Are they on the second or third floor of the building?
So the establishment is located, it's kind of both the first and the second floor. So the first floor component is next to, there's an existing entertainment establishment that should be operating fairly soon in most of that first floor space there. But this one would be like a small little lobby area when you come in, a little bit of retail. Upstairs is the actual tattoo part of it with the stations and such. And that's where the use really is going to occur.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions, commissioners? No opposition, Lenny?
The motions recommend that the special exception be approved subject to the conditions contained in the staff report. Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Houchins?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Ms. Shelton?
Yes.
Dr. Newman?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye, we'll make that recommendation to council. Good luck.
Next application, number 5, is Marigold and Honey Cafe for a special exception, operating eating and drinking establishment at 6700 Azalea Garden Road. This is located in the Norfolk Botanical Garden.
Marigold and Honey Cafe is an existing restaurant in the Norfolk Botanical Gardens located at 6700 Azalea Garden Road. They're looking to add on-premise alcohol sales to their restaurant. And being that they're located in the Botanical Gardens, they're zoned open space preservation, which allows this use by special exception. And although their typical hours will be more limited than these, the special exception will reflect the hours proposed for special events that are happening at the gardens, which are 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. until 12 midnight on Friday, and 8 a.m. until 12 midnight on Saturday and Sunday. And their proposed capacity is 78 seats indoors, 38 seats outdoors, and 132 total capacity. And we have received letters of support from 2 of the surrounding civic leagues, the Eastland Saratoga Civic League and the Garden Civic League, and staff recommends approval of this application.
Thank you, Colette. Any questions of Ms. McDonald, commissioners? Thank you, Colette. Chair acknowledges there is no opposition to this application. Here to speak in favor, if necessary, Ms. Crystal Stemp, as well as Sherman Sevney.
Shannon Severy.
I can't read. Thank you.
Chairman and Commissioners, thank you. I'm going to be very quick. I just want to introduce myself. My name is Crystal Stump, and my address is 1807 South Church Street, Suite 108, PMB 119, Smithfield, Virginia 23430. And I'm the ABC consultant. I've been in business since 2009, and I recently started working with Miss Severy and her business, Marigold and Honey. Basically, I just want to really introduce her. She's a phenomenal entrepreneur, 24 years old, opening this amazing restaurant, been open since June. But basically, I want to just reiterate that she has already trained all of her staff with my alcohol training program, TOAST VA, state certified by the Alcoholic Beverage Control. So all of her staff is going to be very aware of the alcohol rules and how to serve properly. In addition to that, she's hired me for a complete year, so I'll be making sure she maintains compliance throughout the year regarding the ABC regulations. I'm here to answer any questions, but I'd really like for you to talk to her because she's here today.
Thank you. Go right ahead, young lady.
Hello, my name is Shannon Severy. My address is 721 Colony Manor Road, Chesapeake, Virginia 23321. So I opened Marigold and Honey Cafe back in June of 2016. I have recently hired ABC Consulting to help with application assistance for a wine and beer license, as well as for, as Crystal mentioned, state certified training for all of my staff and myself. Also to ensure in compliance with ABC Code and City Code. At Marigold and Honey Cafe, we serve a variety of fresh-made salads, deli sandwiches, and paninis, as well as a variety of baked goods, fruit smoothies, and kids' meals. We also cater box lunches, hot buffet, hors d'oeuvres for corporate events and weddings. We already heard our hours of operation. If you have any questions for me, please let me know.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners?
No, sounds impressive.
I happened to have lunch there several times this summer with my kids. It was phenomenal. So I'll have a glass
Thank
of
you.
wine now, maybe, with my lunch.
And I welcome the commission to come and check us out anytime you like at Botanical Gardens.
Well, thank you for the invitation.
Very good.
Mr. Newcomb.
Yes, the motions to recommend that the special exception be approved, subject to conditions contained in the staff report. Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Houchins?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Ms. Shelton?
Yes.
Dr. Newman?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
I'm impressed with this applicant, and I wish you all the best, and I will be by the gravel bike. I vote aye.
Thank you.
Application number 6, Seafood Kitchen for a special exception. Operate an eating and drinking establishment at 5802 East Virginia Beach Boulevard, Suite 126.
Colette.
Seafood Kitchen is an existing restaurant in the Janiff Shopping Center located at 5802 East Virginia Beach Boulevard, Suite 126. They're looking to add on-premise alcohol sales to their restaurant. They're Zone C3, which allows this use by special exception, and they're surrounded by a number of other commercial uses as well. Their hours of operation and for the sale of alcoholic beverages will be from 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. 7 days a week, with 22 seats indoors, 0 seats outdoors, and a total capacity of 49. And staff recommends approval of this application.
Thank you. Colette, any questions of Ms. McDonald, commissioners? No. Thank you. Chair acknowledges that there's no opposition to this application. Do want to acknowledge Mohammed Jawad Zahid is here. I'm sure you have nothing to add since there's no opposition. Is that correct? Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Newcomb?
The motion to recommend the special exception be approved, subject to conditions contained in the staff report. Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Houchins?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Ms. Shelton?
Yes.
Dr. Newman?
Aye.
And Mr. Fraley.
Aye. We'll make that recommendation to council. Good luck.
All right, application number 7 is Lytle to amend a previously granted special exception for the sale of alcoholic beverages for off-premise consumption at 6440 North Military Highway. purposes to alter their current special exception to allow the sale of 4 packs of beer.
Thank you, Lenny. Ms. McDonald.
As stated, Lidl is looking to amend their current special exception at 6440 North Military Highway in order to get the ability to sell 4 packs, which the current special exception allows them to sell 6 packs of beer. In comparison to their previous special exception, the hours will be the same. The only difference is that they're looking to sell 4 packs instead of 6 packs. And staff recommends approval of this application.
Thank you, Colette. Any questions, commissioners? Thank you. Here to speak in favor of this application, if necessary, Randy Royal.
If necessary.
Earn his money.
This lady here has insisted that I speak. I won't speak. For the record, Randy Royal, Kimley Horn Associates, address 4525 Main Street, Virginia Beach. Miss Little, Miss Bass Knight Little is here. She lives behind it. I met with the Civic League, Lake Whitehurst Civic League, who are nearby in an organized civic league, but not directly behind the store. They are fine with it. They love it. They like the selection, the prices, the fresh vegetables, etc. She lives, I want to say behind it, but right beside. She's near the loading dock. So I've been working with her, and I wanted to tell you guys that's what we were doing. She didn't want to speak, but she wanted to come. I encouraged her to speak, but I said I would lay all this out for you. So they deliver in the middle of the night because they want to have fresh vegetables every morning. If they leave too soon, they don't get the fresh vegetables from the distribution center. If they leave too late, they can't get them set up in the store. So they come in the middle of the night. It has been loud. She's told me there were some repair work going on initially to where they had generators running all the time. She's told me that it's gotten a little better since we've talked, but what they're doing to make it even better still is, number one, to cut they call them reefer units. It's really refrigeration units. To cut those off when the trucks come in. They heard people talking out there, so the employees are instructed, do not talk other than inside. Don't go out in the parking lot in the middle of the night and talk. Be quieter when you're unloading. And they're getting some special equipment called pallet jacks with 3 wheels that should be quieter in there, but we don't have those yet. I told her we're going to coordinate with her, tell her when those are coming in, and hopefully that's going to do the trick for her. Limiting the hours is going to cause them a problem with doing their business and having the fresh vegetables and all in there. So she's here. I didn't want to put her on the spot, but that's why I wanted to speak, that I am working with her. She and one of her neighbors were kind enough to come to the Lake Whitehurst meeting, and we discussed the matter.
Thank you, Randy.
Okay.
Any questions?
What are the hours of operation of the grocery store?
I should know that, but I don't. The report says 8 to 11, but I think they close at 8, if I remember right.
7 to 11.
It is,
Previous.
well, that's what's on the thing, but I don't know that they stay open that long.
I think they close at 9 right now.
Yeah, I think that's right. But that's just what was on the permit. So they deliver, from midnight to 5 in the morning is to get things out in the store properly. They've got a regional distribution center that hits all the stores so that they get fresh produce in all the stores. There's 2 deliveries in the night. They've got a couple of deliveries during the day that are the local guys, the other things. And that's another thing that I told Miss Little, that these deliveries in the night, those are the Lidl people. I do a lot of this, and frequently you've got truck drivers, and you tell them all you want, but if they don't work for you, they don't care. They drive where they want to, they do what they want to. This will be Lidl people in the middle of the night, so we should be able to control that better. Cut your motors off, cut the refrigeration units off, and be quiet when you're doing this. It's in the middle of the night, and unfortunately, there was a map up there, but I mean, Miss Little lives on Clemson Avenue, which is a neighborhood that backs up to his old car dealership. Here you go. You can see the loading dock on the end of the store there, and she lives right on Clemson. So we're doing our best to keep it, and I think we've already gotten it a little bit quieter, but I'm hoping it's going to be much quieter when we get the additional equipment in. I, again, just wanted to lay that out for you guys on behalf of her.
Appreciate it, Randy. Appreciate you taking leadership too to mitigate these concerns on behalf of that resident. And I'm
They
sure
want to
your
be good neighbors.
Yeah, I'm sure applicant, in this case, Lidl appreciates it too. I appreciate you taking that initiative. It's not something you necessarily had to do. But I appreciate you working with that. Any other question or comment? Lenny?
Motion's recommend that a special exception be granted, subject to the conditions contained in the staff report. Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Houchins?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Ms. Shelton?
Yes.
Dr. Newman?
Aye.
And Mr. Fraley?
I'll vote aye. Randy, I would ask if you just keep us posted on how, or at least keep staff posted, they can let us know how things are coming with regard to mitigating that Noah circumstance.
Yes, sir, and that's what I was just telling her as soon as we get the equipment in. But I mean, it's gonna get better immediately. I want it to get more better when they get the other equipment in. But yeah, I'll stay in touch with Colette on it.
Good deal. I vote
Thank
aye. Best of luck with that, Randy. Glad Lidl's come to us. Glad they're using you.
Application number 8 is Grace O'Mallory Irish Pub and Restaurant for a special exception for the sale of alcoholic beverages for on-premises consumption at 207 Granby Street, Suites 211 through 213.
Matthew.
All right. This site is located on the west side of Granby Street. It's near the intersection with West City Hall Avenue downtown. And the request is to add alcohol sales for off-premise consumption to the existing entertainment establishment. And the site is Zone D3 downtown, allows the use by special exception. The hours are 11 a.m. to 12 midnight for the off-premise, 7 days a week. And then the alcohol types, 6 packs of beer, and then wine no smaller than a half bottle. Those are the standards, but then also at least 32-ounce growlers, 32 and up. And with that, we do have a letter of an email of support from the Downtown Norfolk Civic League. They support the request, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Matthew. Any questions, commissioners? Chair acknowledges no opposition. Lenny?
Motion's recommend the special exception be approved subject to conditions contained in the staff report. Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Houchins?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Ms. Shelton?
Yes.
Dr. Newman?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye. Make that recommendation to council. Good luck. Thank you.
Next application is Crystal Palette for a special exception for the sale of alcoholic beverages for off-premises consumption at 4500 Pretty Lake Avenue.
Okay, as Lenny has indicated, we request by Crystal Palette. This is located at 4500 Pretty Lake Avenue. It used to be the East Beach Sandwich Shop. It is zoned, it's in the East Beach district. It does require a special exception for off-premises. Looks like a lot of hours here, but the applicant is applying for an off-premise, so she's having wine classes, and she would like to sell wine off-premises. She is doing tastings, and she is getting an ABC gourmet license. We generally don't require them to get an ABC on when you get a gourmet license because it's very limited. You can only serve very small samples, so she's here really today only for the off-premise special exception. You can see very limited hours, generally open till 10, and even earlier on Sunday. 20 seats indoors with a total capacity of 30. We did receive a letter of support from the East Beach Civic League, East Ocean View Civic League, and staff is recommending support for the application.
Thank you, Susan. Any questions of Ms. Pollock, commissioners?
No, I do have a comment, though.
Go right ahead.
I'm a little jaded because I live a block from this and I enjoy my wine. But the community is very excited about this establishment, and I appreciate Crystal taking the risk and opening it up.
Thank you, Mr. Hales. The chair does want to acknowledge Ms. Crystal Cameron Shadd. Is the applicant does not wish to speak, and we don't have any opposition. Mr. Newcomb.
Motion to recommend the special exception be approved subject to conditions contained in the staff report. Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Houchins?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Ms. Shelton?
Yes.
Dr. Newman?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye. We'll make that recommendation to council. Good luck with that.
All right. Number 10 is Cafe Stella for a special exception to operate an entertainment establishment with alcoholic beverages at 116 Granby Street.
This is a special exception request from Cafe Stella for the entertainment establishment with alcohol at 116 Granby Street. downtown. It is on the east side of Granby Street, very close to the intersection with East Main Street. The proposal is to operate a coffee shop, but also to have on-premise alcohol sales as well as limited entertainment options. The zoning is D2, requiring these uses by special exception. And the proposed hours of operation are 6 a.m. until 2 a.m. 7 days a week. And then the capacity would be 39 seats indoors, 43 total capacity. And then the entertainment options would consist of 5-member live band, karaoke, comedian, poetry reading, so your standard options. And with that, staff recommends approval of the special exception request with the conditions contained in the staff report.
Thanks, Chris. Any questions, commissioners?
Does the applicant understand that a DJ is not included? Save us time in the future.
Yeah.
That's an insightful request on Mr. Murphy there. Thanks for asking. Any other question or comment? Thanks, Chris. The chair acknowledges that there is no opposition, but here to speak if necessary is Henry Howell. I don't want to force you up here unless you just want to come, Mr. Howell.
Right. Oh, my word. I've been sitting here watching all of the yeoman work you're doing here. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I got notice Mariusz and Stella were having this before you today, and I use it as an opportunity to share with you my admiration of this couple. Within the first month of their opening cafe, Stella, I'm preaching to the choir, they're great people, but it's a little bit background here. I started going there, loved them. He's from Poland. They're both from the East Coast. He was a major accountant with a huge corporation out in Seattle. She was an engineer. Their dream was to come here to roast coffee and have a bakery, and they have just done fantastic. 2 instances to show how they moved up. When Mark Warner comes to town to speak to small businesses, chose Cafe Stella. 2012, I'm sitting in there. Who comes in? Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, campaigning for Obama, and sits at the picnic table next to her. And I eavesdropped for a half hour with the Secretary of State. And then, of course, she found out Mariusz was from Poland. And so they exchanged a lot because there's some history there. Anyway, fantastic people. I don't know if they'll be before you again. I won't. This is the only time I'm coming to say this for them. So thank you so much for your time.
Before you step away, give us your name and middle.
Oh, I'm sorry, Henry Howell. And I happen to be part owner of 1 East Plume Street. They're inherited the building from my mom and dad, a portion of it. And I used to drive, of course, to Ghent, but now they're coming to downtown. But that's 1 East Plume Street, Henry Howell, property owner, longtime resident. Love the city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Lenny?
The motion to recommend the special exception be approved, subject to conditions contained in the staff report. Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Houchin? Aye. Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Ms. Shelton?
I'd like to say yes with an order of double cappuccino and Polish pancakes, please. Thank you.
Dr. Newman?
Aye.
And Mr. Fraley?
I will make that recommendation to council. Good luck to you.
All right, number 11, Taste Unlimited, to amend a previously granted special exception to operate an entertainment establishment with alcoholic beverages at premises now are formally numbered 407 West 21st Street. This basically changes the location of the outdoor seating.
Yes, so this is a request by Taste Unlimited. Again, they're located on 21st Street. I think they are in limited operation right now. It's the old Sleepy's. They had come through for a special exception for an entertainment establishment, realized they couldn't quite do, unfortunately, what they wanted to do as far as their outdoor seating, so they had to come back. They modified their floor plan. You can see the right column reads same. Their hours are all the same. The only thing that is, and it's really only slightly at this, being modified, total number of seats indoors stays the same.
standing slightly from 35 to 40. They previously had a total of 106 outdoor. They did have the rooftop. That's what they had to eliminate. Now they're down to 101 seats outdoors, but the total capacity remains the same at 276. So really that's the only change, the layout, and then the slight decrease in the number of outdoor seats. With the conditions stated in the staff report, we recommend approval.
Thank you, Susan. Any questions of Susan, commissioners? Thank you. There is no opposition, Lenny.
The motion to recommend the special exception be approved, subject to the conditions contained in the staff report. Mr. Hales.
Aye.
Ms. Austin.
Yes.
Mr. Houchins.
Aye.
Mr. Murphy.
Aye.
Ms. Shelton.
Yes.
Dr. Newman.
Aye.
And Mr. Fraley.
Aye. We'll make that recommendation to council. Good luck. Item 12.
Item 12, Maker's Craft Brewery for the following special exception applications at 731 through 735 East 23rd Street, 724 Rugby Street, and 2300 Church Street. A is to operate a microbrewery. B is to operate an entertainment establishment. This is a new facility located along Church Street.
All right. So 2 applications in front of you, one for the microbrewery, one for the entertainment establishment. The site is shown here is a vacant industrial building along Church Street in between East 23rd and Rugby. And the area is zoned industrial I-2. It's surrounded by industrial. And here's a picture of the building. And here is the layout, the proposed layout. That area to the left along Church Street, that's this this vacant grass area right there. So that will be improved into a big outdoor open space for different for gatherings, events, and it's for use for the facility. Also, what you see there is some areas for food trucks. Sort of thinking ahead about obviously a lot of these places coordinate with the food trucks, and then behind the building is the parking lot that will be improved. On the actually sort of see it right there. It's being used for loading right now, but that will be improved with the parking lot. So with that, here are the details. Hours for alcohol for off-premise consumption. So this is your retail hours that the general consumer can come in. 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 9 to 11 Friday, 10 to 11 Saturday, 10 to 10 on Sunday. And then the hours for entertainment and for the sale of alcohol for on-premise consumption, that's 3 to 10 Monday through Thursday, noon to 11 Friday, Saturday, noon to 10 on Sunday. And then the entertainment options are right there. With that, staff does recommend approval of the request.
Any questions of Mr. Simons, commissioners? Thank you, Matthew.
All right.
There is no opposition to this application. Chair acknowledges the applicant, Rick Mariani, Michael Mariani, and Brian Rollins. One of you did sign up to speak. If you feel like you really want to tell us something, you can have the podium. Thank you so much, Mr. Newcomb.
The motion is to recommend that the special exceptions be approved, subject to conditions contained in the staff report. Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Houchins?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
I'd like to commend the applicant on the ambition of this project. This is a huge piece of property in that neighborhood, and it can be transformative, enthusiastic eye.
Ms. Shelton?
Yes.
Dr. Newman?
Aye.
And Mr. Fraley?
This part of our city has a lot of vacant or underutilized structures. We just saw Ms. Presley up here earlier. She's right around the corner from you almost. To see you folks come in here and try to pump some life into one of those established structures does my heart good. So hopefully the two of you can be an impetus for greater things happening in that community. And I wish you well. I vote yes.
All right. Application 13, James R. McKee, for the closure of a certain portion of Chesapeake Bay Avenue lying north of 1512 Leeview Avenue, containing 1,389 square feet, more or less, of land.
All right.
Matt.
So this is sort of a portion of unknown right-of-way along the beach. And as you can see in the picture, some of the structures there have long encroached into the right-of-way. And this is one of the structures, and they've coordinated with the city to acquire this portion of the right-of-way and purchase that from the city. That requires the closure in front of you. And here's a look at the
Clarify,
zoning.
it's not unknown right away.
And staff recommends approval. We do have a letter of unanimous recommendation from the Willoughby Civic League.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions of Mr. Simon, commissioners?
Mr. Chair, we really ought to offer the last person on the agenda a cookie or something. Easiest application, and he had to wait the entire
Cappuccino
entire day.
beforehand.
Mr. McKee, if it were in our purview, you'd have had it by now. But here in favor of this application, Mr. James R. McKee. Would you like to say anything, Mr. McKee?
Yeah, it looks like it's, I'll take the cookie there.
Okay. We'll send somebody for it. Lenny?
The motion to recommend that the street be closed, subject to any necessary easements. Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Ms. Austin?
Yes.
Mr. Houchins?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Ms. Shelton?
Yes.
Dr. Newman?
Aye.
And Mr. Fraley?
Aye, we'll make that recommendation to council, sir. Good luck. Item, new business, item 2, 1A, Niche Plan Norfolk 2030 amendments.
I will keep this very,
This
very
is why
quick.
you've been here.
This is why I've been here, I know. No,
Thank you,
y'all are
Paula.
so
Go right ahead.
interesting, I hang out. What you have before you is just we're asking you to initiate some amendments to Plan Norfolk to support the new zoning ordinance. Just specifically, we will bring all the details of them forward as we write them, but we have a series of text amendments that we want to make to really boost the resilience quotient of our Plan Norfolk 2030, so that the zoning ordinance, when we move forward to adopt it, that it's fully supported in policy. We want to make sure they work together hand in hand, and we will bring those forward. Another amendment we would like to make hand in hand with the new zoning ordinance is an amendment to the character district map. We have to specifically define those areas carefully, and we'll bring those to you. But we want to make sure that the traditional and suburban character districts are reflected in the zoning that's proposed for those areas. So we would have those changes. And then the third thing is, at the same time, we would want to adopt new pattern books in support of the new zoning ordinance. The coastal character pattern book that I believe y'all had a meeting on last week to begin discussions of that, and then a commercial pattern book that's going to be coming forward too. So we would like to pair, when these amendments are ready, we would pair them with when you would vote on the new zoning ordinance too.
What's your anticipated timeline, or do you have one, Paul?
November, December, depending on how the
else comes
17th
up?
of October goes.
Well, the coastal is the first one.
Okay.
And that one's very far along, and George and I have had the opportunity to sit and have some input and have a presentation on it. The commercial one will follow.
Thank you, Lenny. Chair will entertain a motion, commissioners.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded to initiate a text amendment for Plan Norfolk 2030. Any unreadiness? Hearing none, those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Melita, you have anything for us?
No, Mr. Chair.
And Mr. Homewood?
Nothing serious, it's just we were kiddingly going to allow Mr. Newcomb to be in charge of the color chart in the new coastal character district.
That would be fun. Commissioners, any comment? Hearing none, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.